Today I want to show you what a real day looks like running a lawn and landscape business after more than 30 years in the industry. We've got 3 mowing crews out today, 2 guys on each crew, and between Monday and Friday, we average around 100 lawns a day. Some days are a little less, some days are more, but across the week, we're servicing over 500 properties. Now that sounds good, and it is good, but running a business like this is a whole lot more than mowing grass. The mowing is the part everybody sees. What they don't see is everything that goes on in the background to keep things running and running smoothly. I think it's important to show the business side of things so people get a real picture of what it's like running a lawn business and managing multiple crews. If you're thinking of starting your own business, or you've already started and you're looking for some pointers and don't want to run into the common mistakes people make that cost them their business, then this video will definitely help. So today I'm going to bring you through a general day in my company. And while the crews are out working, I'm going to talk through the problems that cause a lot of lawn and landscape businesses to fail, how I've dealt with them, and what I'd pay attention to from the start if I knew then what I know now. Let's get into the day, which always starts before anything hits the grass. One of the first things that has to get done is sharpening blades. This is pretty simple stuff. If your blades are dull, you're tearing grass instead of cutting it clean. That affects the quality of the lawn, how the property looks when you leave, and how your customers judge the work. We also put new edger blades on when they need it. Clean edges, clean trimming, and clean blow-off makes the lawn look sharp and professionally done. Then the guys head to the gas station. They fill up the machines, fill up the cans, and make sure they've got what they need to stay moving. We've got 10 trucks in the business, and the trucks, trailers, mowers, blowers, trimmers, edgers, and cans all have to be ready. We're usually running Ferris mowers, and most of the time we're using 62-inch zero turns. That equipment helps us move fast, but equipment only helps you if it's maintained, fueled, and sent out properly. This is the kind of thing nobody thinks about when they say, I want to start a lawn business. They think about cutting grass and making money, and that's fine because that's where most of us start. But once you've got crews, everything has to become a process. Once the crews are out, the field work starts. Some days we've got mowing all day. Other days we've got a mix, maybe of mulch jobs, shrub trimming, tree removals, or whatever it may be. And then some days I've got to visit properties to see what needs to happen before I can quote a landscape job properly. Today we've got mowing routes running, mulch work, and shrub trimming work. While the guys are out doing these jobs, I wanted to talk about why a lot of businesses in this industry don't make it. You'll hear all kinds of statistics about how many businesses fail in the first 5 years. I'm not going to argue over the exact number here because different sources measure it differently. What I know from 30 years in this business is simple. A lot of people start and a lot of people disappear. Most of the time, they don't disappear because they couldn't mow a lawn. They disappear because they didn't understand the business. That's one of the biggest traps in this industry. A lot of people come into lawn care because they know how to cut grass, or they worked for another company, or they've got a truck and a mower, and they figure they can make some money, and all power to them. They can definitely make those financial dreams a reality. That's one of the good things about this industry. It gives people a way in. You don't need a giant office, and you don't need a degree to start serving people. But knowing how to work and knowing how to build a business are 2 different things. Once you grow, you've got to understand pricing, payroll, equipment costs, route density, hiring, training, cash flow, customer service, insurance, scheduling, and leadership. If you don't learn those things, the business gets bigger, but it doesn't get better. As Biggie said, mo money, mo problems. Underpricing is probably one of the biggest problems I see. A guy charges what he thinks the customer will accept, or he charges what he thinks the other guy is charging, or he gives a discount because he's afraid of losing the job. The problem is, if the price doesn't cover your real cost, that job isn't helping you. It's just keeping you busy. That's why I track everything from start to finish. For example, I have a spreadsheet that documents all the clients and properties I service with their location and contact information. But crucially, it also includes the size of the property in square feet and how long that should take my 2-man crews. The time is taken from an average, so it's not the fastest it can be done or the slowest, but this number and the spreadsheet as a whole is invaluable. Not only can I know how long each property should take, but I can also group them together by location into a dense route and calculate the exact drive time for that route. I can't stress enough how important this information is to me when I'm planning mine and my crew's days, calculating costs, and setting my prices. With this, I'm never guessing anything when it comes to numbers. If you're just starting out, you obviously won't have the firsthand experience and knowledge of every property in your area to be this accurate. But if you keep this in mind from the start, you're going to build such a strong foundation that growth will feel easy. And saying that, I recently released a video on measuring, pricing, and quoting any property in under 5 minutes just using Google Maps or some software like it. So you actually can be accurate without having direct access to a property, if that's the case when you're just starting. If this sounds helpful, give that video a watch. And if you're enjoying this one, make sure to like and subscribe and let me know in the comments. This really lets me know what you want to see and what information helps you the most. Cash flow is another one that quietly chokes businesses. You can have customers coming in, trucks moving, and work on the schedule. But if you're not billing properly, collecting properly, tracking expenses, and building money into your pricing for repairs and replacement, you can still feel broke physically and financially. A lot of guys look at a mower and think, well, it's paid off, so it's free. That's not how I look at it. Every hour that mower runs, it's wearing out. Every truck, trailer, trimmer, blower, and edger has a lifespan. So your price has to help recover the cost of the equipment, not just pay for today's labor. If you don't build that into your prices, one repair, one slow month, or one equipment replacement can wipe out the money you thought you made. Route density is another huge one. In lawn maintenance, the route can make or break the day. If a crew does 30 lawns in a tight area, that can be a strong day. If they do the same number of lawns but spread all over town, then your costs can quietly rise and the numbers can fall apart fast. That's why I never just look at the amount of lawns in a day, but also how the route is built. When your route is tight, your crews can stay productive. But if it's scattered, your trucks turn into rolling break rooms with gas bills. And then there's quality. When you're solo, the quality is whatever you personally do. If you care, the work usually looks good. But when you start adding crews, quality becomes a training issue. The customer doesn't care which crew showed up. They hired the company. So if one crew does a beautiful job and another crew rushes through it, skips trimming, misses cleanup, or leaves a property looking half finished, that becomes a business problem. The crew has to know what a finished job looks like to your standards. Communication is another reason people lose customers and their business slips through their fingers. Most customers don't expect perfection, but they do expect communication. If you're late or a quote needs to be revised, communicate clearly and explain what changed. People can handle problems a lot better when they're told what's going on. Then there's labor, one of the hardest parts of this business. I touched on it a moment ago, but it's so understated. You've got to find people who show up, listen, work safely, take pride in the job, and keep moving when the day gets hot, wet, humid, or frustrating. You can teach someone how to use a mower or trim better, but work ethic, reliability, and attitude are harder. The two most important qualities to me in a crew member are aptitude and attitude. Aptitude means their ability to learn, and that's crucial. A good crew protects the business. A bad crew can damage equipment, damage property, lose customers, and drain your time. So you've got to train people, watch the work, correct problems early, and make sure they understand the standard. Another big one in this industry especially is actually growing too fast. Because the entry level is fairly low, people can start earning and earning big before they really know how to handle that kind of responsibility. A lot of guys want more trucks, more crews, more customers, and more revenue. I understand that. Growth feels good, but it also adds pressure. Kind of adjacent to rapid growth is the problem of burnout. A lot of owners are tough. They already know how to do the work and they'll work all day, but now they've got to answer calls, quote jobs on weekends, fix equipment, handle complaints, do payroll, manage crews, and somehow they'll still feel like they're behind. I know exactly how this feels because I've been there. More than once, in fact. The problem is if the whole business depends on you personally doing everything, the business isn't giving you the freedom you planned, but instead just a more time-consuming job than you originally had. Working hard is good, but the fact is you can't be the only person who can make the business function. Those are just a few of the common reasons businesses fail in this industry, and I've seen every single one in real time. It's tougher than people think to make it in this industry, but being conscious of the reasons many fail keeps you one step ahead of the game. Now, let's get back to the day. The crews have been mowing, shrub trimming, and mulching, and while that's been going on, I had a property to check over to see what needs to happen for that landscape quote. After surveying that property in person, I then had to head back to the office to complete 11 more quotes, plus revisions on other quotes. I've also got contracts to do around this time of year, and we still do physical mail too. I send out contracts, preseason mailers, renewal letters, and in August, I'll send out snow plowing mailers. By the end of the day, I'm then processing what got done and what didn't get done. Just because something was on the schedule doesn't mean it got completed. Now let's come back to the numbers. Last Monday, the 3 mowing crews serviced 106 lawns. Crew 1 did 40 lawns in total and grossed $1,374. After labor and overhead costs, the net income from that crew was $574. Crew 2 did 29 lawns and grossed $990. After labor and overhead, they netted $340. And last but not least, Crew 3 did 37 in total on that Monday. Crew 3 grossed $1,300. And again, after labor and overheads, the net income was around $500. These numbers are real, but it's also important to note a crew making less overall isn't always a reflection on them or their work. Sometimes the route is spread out, making their drive time and cost a little higher, or maybe the properties are bigger, upping their mow time. There's several factors that come into these numbers, and it's important you know your real numbers. These are mine, and I'm using them as an example for you. Across 5 days, that's around $7,072 in weekly net income from those 3 crews. Now remember, I'm in a northern state, so we don't mow 52 weeks a year. We usually service lawns for around 30 to 32 weeks. So when people ask what it takes to run a multi-crew lawn and landscape business, this is what I'd tell them. You need to know the work, but you also need to learn the business. You need to price for profit, track the numbers, prioritize tight routes, train crews, maintain equipment, keep up communication, and grow at a pace your systems can handle. I started with a mower and a dream, and now this is $1 million company serving hundreds of clients every week. But that didn't happen just because we cut grass. It happened because over time, I learned how to build the business behind the work. If you're just starting out, don't let this overwhelm you. You don't need to have all of this figured out on day one. God knows I didn't. Start with the work. Serve people well. Learn your numbers. Keep your route tight. Don't give away your profit. Communicate with your customers, write down your processes, and as you grow, keep turning what you learn into systems. That's how you move from mowing lawns to running a business. Good luck out there.